The story begins in a terrifying future, where Spain is completely devastated. Resources have become so scarce that the government issues a cruel order to eliminate children and pregnant women in order to conserve supplies. To escape this shadow of death, Mia, who is pregnant, and her husband Nico make the desperate decision to flee their homeland. They believe this dangerous journey will bring hope, but the path ahead soon turns into their worst nightmare. With the help of smugglers, they hide inside a massive truck container, surrounded by other frightened people who are simply trying to survive. The atmosphere is filled with tension and fear, so much so that even the slightest sound makes everyone's heartbeat stop. Mia and Nico hold each other's hands tightly in the suffocating darkness of the iron box. But their troubles grow worse when the truck suddenly halts, and the smugglers mercilessly drag Nico out of the container, forcing him into another truck. Mia screams from inside, but she is powerless, left separated from her husband. Now, she remains alone among strangers in that container, where the fear becomes even heavier. The journey continues until the truck stops again at a military checkpoint. This moment is the most terrifying as soldiers arrive for inspection. The sound of gunfire and screams outside shakes everyone inside. In a desperate attempt to survive, Mia climbs onto large wooden crates stacked inside the container and hides in a cramped space at the very top. The door bursts open and soldiers storm in. Without asking a single question, they unleash a hail of bullets on the people below, killing everyone instantly. Mia holds her breath, trembling as the massacre unfolds beneath her. When the gunfire finally ceases, the soldiers drag the bodies out, clean the blood and evidence, and shut the door again. Now, only silence remains inside the giant iron box, with Mia left utterly alone. The truck moves once more, and Mia has no idea where she is being taken. After hours of travel, the container is unloaded at a port and transferred onto a massive cargo ship. Alone in the darkness, Mia is consumed with worry for her husband. As the ship sails deep into the ocean, the weather suddenly turns violent. A monstrous storm strikes, and towering waves rock the vessel. Amid the chaos, the container holding Mia loses balance and slips into the dark, raging sea. The impact throws her against the walls, knocking her unconscious. When she regains consciousness, she realizes the horrifying truth. The container is filling with water, and she is trapped in the middle of the ocean inside what feels like a sinking iron coffin. Panic grips her as salty seawater rushes in through bullet holes in the walls. Fighting for survival, Mia searches through the scattered items inside. She finds plastic containers, a hoodie, and vodka bottles, but then her eyes fall on something invaluable: duct tape. Without wasting a second, she uses it to seal the holes, desperately trying to stop the water from flooding in. In the midst of this chaos, her phone rings. With trembling hands, she answers, and hearing Nico's voice brings her a moment of relief. Nico tells her he is alive and searching for her, but before they can speak further, the signal weakens. Mia tries to explain her condition, but the call drops, leaving her once again in deadly silence. Just as a faint ray of hope appears, her situation worsens. Sharp pain grips her stomach. The stress and injuries trigger labor far too early. Outside, the storm rages on, waves crash violently against the container, and the water level inside keeps rising. Mia writhes in agony with no one to help her. She realizes she must give birth in these hellish conditions. Through unbearable pain, she pushes with all her strength. Every passing moment brings the water higher, reaching her waist, threatening to drown her newborn the instant it arrives. But driven by her maternal instinct and sheer will to survive, Mia endures the torment and finally gives birth to her baby girl. She immediately lifts the child above the water and holds her close to her chest. In that moment, amidst the storm, a fragile life enters the world. She names her daughter Noah. Yet the danger is far from over. The container continues to leak, and exhaustion overwhelms Mia. Still, she cannot rest, fearing the rising water will consume them both. On that stormy night, she clings to her newborn, trying to keep her safe while her mind races with thoughts of the dangers ahead. She knows that unless help arrives soon, or she finds a way out, this iron container will become their grave. Mia's eyes suddenly catch sight of a drill machine, and in that moment, she realizes there might be a way out. Summoning every ounce of strength, She spends hours cutting through the iron roof. When she finally removes the lid, the sight of the open blue sky fills her face with joy. She squeezes through the narrow opening and emerges outside, only to find herself surrounded by nothing but endless ocean. Her heart sinks at the vast emptiness, but then she spots an airplane in the sky, and hope flickers once again. Without wasting time, she rushes back down, grabs a piece of glass, and tries to reflect sunlight to signal the plane. In her haste, however, her foot gets badly cut by sharp iron as she climbs out. Despite the unbearable pain and blood loss, she refuses to give up and frantically waves signals toward the sky. Yet all her desperate attempts fail, and the plane disappears from sight. With her hope shattered, she pours vodka over the deep wound and stitches it herself to stop the bleeding, her painful cries drowned out by the roar of the sea. Starving and weak, Mia knows she must survive for her baby. She improvises by using earphone wires to catch fish. After immense struggle, she finally manages to grab one and eats it raw. For days, she survives on raw fish, clinging to the hope of rescue. But when no help arrives, she tries to scoop water out of the container, though the small opening makes it impossible. As days pass, she realizes the container has sunk dangerously low and could collapse into the depths at any moment. One night, she receives a final phone call from Nico. She hopes he will come to save her, but Nico reveals he couldn't escape and has been shot. With his last breaths, he makes Mia promise she will not give up and will keep their daughter alive. Hearing this, Mia breaks down in tears, realizing she is truly alone and no one is coming to rescue her. Yet, amidst grief and looming death, she wipes her tears because now she has no time left to cry. The next morning, she begins tying plastic containers and ropes together to build a small raft, determined that if the container sinks, her baby will at least float. The water level rises to the roof, and sinking is inevitable. She quickly places her baby on the makeshift raft. Just then, a loud crash shakes the container, pulling it downward. As she rushes inside to grab essentials, her foot gets tangled in a rope underwater, dragging her down as the container plunges into the ocean's depths. Mia struggles, trapped beneath the waves, while her baby drifts away with the current. But even in the jaws of death, she refuses to surrender. She cuts the rope and fights her way to the surface, gasping for air. The vast ocean is silent, and her baby is nowhere in sight. Desperate, she searches frantically until she hears faint cries in the distance. Risking everything, she swims toward the sound and finally reaches her baby, breathing a sigh of relief upon finding her safe. Now, mother and child float helplessly in the endless sea, with death looming over them every second. Exhausted by the sun and weakness, Mia begins to lose consciousness. Soon, a flock of seabirds circles above them, catching the attention of fishermen on a distant boat. Curious, they steer toward the scene. As they approach, they see only a small raft with a crying baby. Mia is nowhere to be found. They quickly rescue the baby, but then notice a wire tied to the raft, trailing deep underwater. Pulling it up, they're stunned to find Mia's lifeless body, cold and motionless, hanging beneath the surface. They drag her aboard and begin CPR. Time passes with no response, and despair sets in. But then, a miracle occurs. Water gushes from Mia's mouth, and she gasps for breath, returning to life. Overwhelmed, she clutches her baby to her chest, tears of relief streaming down her face. Nico's sacrifice and Mia's unbreakable struggle finally bear fruit. She has defeated nature's fury and death itself, proving that a mother's love is stronger than the ocean. And with this new hope, the story comes to an end.